Go! Here we go. Thanks, so good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, my name is Candid Wurst, or Candid West, usually for easy. I'm a threat researcher with Symantec's Global Security Response team, and it's an honor for me to be invited here by Kaspersky to get a sunburn, and more important, of course, talking about PowerShell. As we already heard from Yuri, PowerShell is important. Who here in the room has never heard of PowerShell? Please raise your hand. Well, so you have been at the beach all day because there were many, many talks who actually mentioned PowerShell today and yesterday because it's everywhere, right? PowerShell, it's a .NET-based framework, shell, and scripting language. And the nice thing is it's default installed on all the newer Windows versions. It's been released about 12 years ago, so it's actually quite old. And of course, it's there, so why not use it, right? It's the living off the land principle. You don't even have to compile your own binary, you just take what's there. And then for me, coming from Switzerland, of course I have to do the analogy to the Swiss Army knife. It is very versatile. Although in the army, you actually don't get a knife like this, so just for a fact. But you can use PowerShell to do threat hunting, you can use it to administrate Linux machines in your own organization and so on. So it's very powerful. And of course, the attackers love stuff which is powerful. So we see more and more of the attackers using PowerShell. Which of course makes sense. Because why wouldn't you use a single small script to do anything you want to do, right? We saw it Vault 7 and others. And the primary use that we see is for downloader. So they use PowerShell as a first stage downloader, maybe do some payload VM checks, download the payload from somewhere, and then get whatever payload module they need to execute. So that's usually what we see as the primary use of it. As an example here, a small little PowerShell script, pineapple there for size comparisons, so it's really, really small, and it's doing all you need. It's downloading something from a remote URL, bypassing the execution policies and so on, no windows shown, and then it will execute what's ever there. And the nice thing is, it's executing it in memory. So as we heard before, there's no files on disk, no whatever machine learning, IOCs and so on, it's executed in memory. And that's working for DLLs with reflective loading as well. So it's very powerful and very stealthy. The second point where we see the attackers using it is for lateral movements, hopping from one machine to another. Of course, we all know Mimikatz and PSExec, the all-time favorite. They're still here, they're still used, but PowerShell is actually quite powerful as well to do remoting, jumping to another machine, and then maybe start their own script and do the whole downloading again. So of course, targeted attackers are using it, right? We've seen Deep Panda using it. There's been Cozy Duke using it. Pick your favorite country. They probably have already used PowerShell somewhere in the lines. Because they don't really have to write their own malware binaries, making it easy to track and say, oh, we've seen those 20 years ago, right? And another thing with scripts is they're so easy to obfuscate. For PowerShell, there's been some great talk, and there's a tool out there, Invoke Obfuscation, which allows you to really scramble up the script, making it very difficult, as not impossible, to actually detect it by signatures and stuff. But funny enough, when I checked out different attackers, only about 8% of those were actually using heavy obfuscation, because they don't have to. Currently, nobody's really monitoring for PowerShell in their environment, so if you use obfuscation, you stick out like a sore thumb. So better hide in plain sight with all these sysadmins work, and if someone's looking, they're probably not going to go through all the log files and see, oh, that was actually not the sysadmin downloading all the exchange data, that was actually someone in, pick your favorite country. So the hiding in plain sight goes with all the things. And of course, well, we just need to fix it, right? We don't just want to pick out the bad things here, but we also want to give some advice. What can we do? And one of the obvious things to do is enable logging with PowerShell. Starting with Windows, with PowerShell version 5 and up, they actually have a very good log mechanism. So you can log all the different script blocks. Most of the logging will actually even be done after all the obfuscation has been eradicated. So you don't have to care about the obfuscation. It will be gone. It's nearly in clear text in the log files. But of course, it generates quite a lot of log files. So you have to monitor for space. You have to pump the log files somewhere where you can monitor those. And you should also monitor the usage of PowerShell, because maybe the receptionist does not use PowerShell at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday morning. So yes, there are some other things that you can do. But actually, if you use the proper logging with the version 5 and up, then you actually can be glad if the attackers are using PowerShell, because then you see every little drop of what they do in your environment. If they use Visual Basic Script, it's going to be a lot harder to see forensically what they did. So maybe it's even nicer if you're on the good side, because then you can just ride the wave, be there, and not having to fear that it's actually crushing on you with all the PowerShell threats out there. And you're probably just going to enjoy it like at SAS at the beach and, well, be happy about all the attacks that you see. And, of course, detect and block before any harm is done. So my recommendation is take back the control in your environment. I've written a white paper, so just Google my name, Candid West, PowerShell. You should be able to find it. Fetch me afterwards. I can send you a link. I'll be the guy in the white trousers and white shoes, so easy to spot, I guess. Or just talk to any of the other experts, John Lambert here from Microsoft, and I know many, many other PowerShell fans in the audience. So thanks for listening. Enjoy the rest of the conference. And, well, I say thanks for listening. Woo!